नरसिंहदेव भगवान की हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisance. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be discussing and reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 2, verses 75 to 86. They're all very short translations by Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll get to the purport. The class and the chapter is entitled Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without further delay, the class will start with the class with His Grace Parikshit Prabhu from ISKCON Harrisburg, and it's all yours. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Damodara Radha, Damodara Radhe. Jaya Radha, Kalachanji, Radha Kalachanji, Radhe. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Radhe. Jaya Radha Gopinata, Radha Gopinata, Radhe. Jaya Radha Sharadihari, Radha Sharadihari, Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya, Gurudev, Nitai Gora, Haribo, 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 Gora, Haribo, Nitai Gora, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora, Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Astottara Satta Sishimaris Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Astottara Satta Sishimaris Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Charge Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivachari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyami Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Samavira Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Pramanandi. All Hari 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 Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Devi Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Chitatmani Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Devi Namini. Narayana Namaste Chanaruncheva Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tutujayam Udirayat Nashta Prayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So this morning, this class is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 2, text 75 to 86. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. So I will chant the first one, the chapter 2, text 75, 3 times, and then we can all chant. Those who feel inspired to can do that, and then we'll continue from there. Anuvadana kaihana kai videya Age anuvada kai paschat videya Anuvadana kahiya na Anuvadana kahiya na kai videya Age anuvada kai paschat videya Anuvadana kahiya na kai videya Age anuvada kai paschat videya. Hare Krishna.
Anuvadana kahi na kahi videya, age anuvada kahi paschat videya.
Okay. Anyone else?
Anuvara nakaiya nakahi videya. Age anuvara kai paschat videya.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
अनुवादना कही न कही विदेया आगे अनुवाद कही पाश्चात विदेया. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, so we'll do word for word now. Hare Krishna. Anuvada, the subject. Na kahiya, not saying. Na, not. Kahi, I say. Videya, the predicate. Age, first. Anuvada, the subject. Kahi, I say. Paschat, afterwards. Videya, the predicate. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. If I do not state the subject, I do not state the predicate. First, I speak the former, and then I speak the latter. Okay. So text 76. Go to the next one, please. Hare Krishna. Okay. So we'll continue like that to the end. Text 76. Videya kaiye tareye vastu agyata. Anuvada kai tareye haya gyata. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The predicate of a sentence is what is unknown to the reader, whereas the subject is what is known to him. Text 77. Yaite kahi e vipra parama pandita, vipra anuvada ihara videya panditya. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. For example, we may say, this vipra is a greatly learned man. In this sentence, the vipra is the subject, and the predicate is his erudition. Text 78. Vedpatva vikyata tara panditya agyata ateva viprage panditya paschata. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The man's being a vipra is known, but his erudition is unknown. Therefore, the person is identified first and his erudition later. Text 79. Kaiche inha avatar sava hoila gyata, kara avatar e vastu avigyata. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. In the same way, all these incarnations were known, but whose incarnations they are was unknown. Text 80. Ete shabde avatarira age anuvada, urushera amcha pache videya samvada. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. First, the word ete, these, establishes the subject, the incarnations. Then, plenary portions of the Purusha avatars follows as the predicate. Text 81. Taite Krishna avatar vitaya hoila gyata, janhara vishesha jnana se abhigyata. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. In the same way, when Krishna was first counted among the incarnations, specific knowledge about him was still unknown. Text 82. Ateva Krishna Shabda Age Anuvada, Swayam Bhagavata Piche Vidya Sambhada. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, first the word Krishna appears as the subject, followed by the predicate describing him as the original personality of Godhead. Text 83. Krishnera Swayam Bhagavata Iha Hoila Sadhya, Swayam Bhagavanera Krishnatva Hoila Bhadya. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. This establishes that Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. The original personality of Godhead is therefore necessarily Krishna. Text 84. Krishna yadi amsha hoita amsi narayan, taibi viparita hoita sutira bachan. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Had Krishna been the plenary portion of Narayan, the primeval Lord, the statement of Srila Goswami would have been reversed. Text 85. Narayan amsi ye swayam bhagavan, tenha Shri Krishna ache karitavya vakyana. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Thus, he would have said, Narayan, the source of all incarnations, is the original personality of Godhead. He has appeared as Sri Krishna. Text 86. Brahma Pramada Vripalipsa Karana Patava Asha Vigya Vakya Nahi Dosha Esaba. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Mistakes, illusions, cheating, and defective perception do not occur in the sayings of the authoritative sages. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam has listed the avatars, the plenary expansions of the Purusha, and Lord Krishna appears among them. But the Bhagavatam further explains that Lord Krishna's specific position as the Supreme Personality of God, of Godhead. Since Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, reason and argument establish that his position is always supreme. Had Krishna been a plenary expansion of Narayan, the original verse would have been differently composed. Indeed, its order would have been reversed. But there cannot be mistakes, illusion, cheating, or imperfect perception in the words of liberated sages. Therefore, there is no mistake in this statement that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Sanskrit statements of Srimad Bhagavatam are all transcendental sounds. Srila Vyasadeva revealed these statements after perfect realization, and therefore they are perfect. For liberated sages like Vyasadeva never commit errors in their rhetorical arrangements. Unless one accepts this fact, there is no use in trying to obtain help from the revealed scriptures. Brahma refers to false knowledge or mistakes, such as accepting a rope as a snake or an oyster shell as gold. Pramada refers to inattention or misunderstanding of reality, and Vipralipsa is the cheating propensity. Karanapata refers to imperfectness of the material senses. There are many examples of such imperfection. The eyes cannot see that which is very distant or very small. One cannot even see his own eyelid, which is the closest thing to his eye. And if one is disturbed by a disease like jaundice, he sees everything to be yellow. Similarly, the ears cannot hear distant sounds. Since the personality of Godhead in its plenary portions and self-realized devotees are all transcendently situated, they cannot be misled by such deficiencies. Om Gyanati Virandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Takshu Omilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Vita Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaisnavam Cha. Shri Rupa Sagijatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva. Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripahasnvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shari Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirveshesha Sunyavari Paschatyadeshi Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratijaye Namaha Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Himaviri Vacha Vishndaraya Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. So this set of texts begins with a description of subject and predicate. And then the subject and predicate idea, which is generally in English, well, it's in grammar, I should say, not English grammar. English grammar is one of them, yeah, but it is in grammar. It's related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then later on, it's related not just to him, but his position, Sri Krishna's position. And then the incarnations are spoken of. But Srimad Bhagavatam, after speaking of incarnations in the first canto, and putting Krishna and Balaram as the 19th and 20th incarnation, turns around and says that, well, the incarnations are there true enough, but the sum total of all of them, they are all in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is Krishna. Even though he's been plugged into a particular number in the incarnations, he is free to do whatever he wants. So if he comes as a particular incarnation, or based on his pastimes, he decides to come in a certain way, that's all right, because Krishna does what he wants to. He's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's a Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means he is above any arrangement and above the law. So his position is unique. And therefore, he plugs himself wherever, but the Shastra also has to make it clear about his position. And then finally, it is explained by Srila Prabhupada, even into the purport of the last one, which is text 86, about the fact that the Shastras, the self-realized souls, when they speak, even their realizations, there is no mistake in it, because they are not affected by the 4 defects that's in regular conditioned souls. So that's the overview of this chapters, Adi Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita from 75 to 86. Actually, the whole subject and predicate thing is even started before text 75, but this is a continuation. So the subject, if it's not stated, the predicate cannot be stated. First, it speaks the subject and then the predicate. So we'll take an example which is not very fancy, not even a mundane example, because all sentences have a subject and a predicate. The subject is the person being talked about or the thing being talked about, and the predicate describes that thing. And so first we talk about that thing itself or that personality, and then what it's said about the personality is what's not known. The description is what's going to be done for that particular personality or the subject. And this, since this is the scriptures, the subject will be about Krishna or something about Krishna. That's always what the Shastra talks about. And so further down, it is explained. In 76, text 76, predicate is unknown to the reader, the subject is known to the reader. You may mention a person's name, maybe a friend. And like this past weekend, there was a mantra meeting, nice workshop, retreat. You can put all of that together, and the number of men went. So you can list the men from Harrisburg, you may know them by name, and then, but if you stop there, that's the subject. What happened? We don't know. They could be in a temple, It could be in another place. They could have gone for book distribution. So the predicate describes what happened. The predicate describes, okay, they went to New Vrindavan in West Virginia. Now you're putting them in a particular situation to describe them. So the predicates were described, and the subject is the thing or the person or the persons being talked about. So as Chaitanya Charitamrita is so detailed, it goes into the explanation of that. And in 77, he gives, text 77, one example. This Vipra is a Brahmana. Brahmana is a greatly learned man. So the Sept in this sentence says Vipra is a subject, talking about a Brahman, and the predicate is a greatly learned man, describes the quality of having great knowledge or scholarship. So that's the example given in this. In 78, so to describe, the man is known. That particular Brahmana may refer to him is known.
Can I ask
But,
a question? Do you want
yes.
me to go back as you are reading it? Do you want me to go back to the verses?
You can if you want.
Okay, I can do that now.
I had it pulled up, so I was just going down
Okay.
the
Okay.
way I had it pulled up.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter so much. But if you want to go that, I am at 78 now. That's what I just finished. The man being Vipra is known, but his erudition is not known. So a Brahman, some Brahmanas are more learned than others. In fact, they're categories. We won't even get into all of that, but they're categories. And so this particular Brahman, then they describe the extent of his knowledge. That is the predicate part, the description. So in text 79, then this is brought to Krishna's incarnations. So it says, in the same way, all these incarnations were known, but whose incarnations they are was unknown. So we'll take some time and go through the incarnations as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's actually in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto and the third chapter. It starts from text 6, and I'll just have a quick go through of those. So the incarnations start with the Kumaras. There were 4 of them born from Brahma. They decided to stay celibate and not get into marriage. And so much was their determination that they even by their potency decided to stay as like 5-year-olds so that they looked like, typical 5-year-olds, very young, and nobody would think of them in terms of being attracted to them or wanting to marry them. But that's how they stayed. And they underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. Later on, they were connected to the Lord's pastimes when they came to Vaikuntha and the gatekeepers stopped them. But that was also a plan by Lord Narayan to come to the material world to sport. But they were involved in that. Kumaras were involved in so many other situations involving Maharaj, Prithu. The list goes on. So many of them. So that's the first incarnation. Now, second incarnation is the incarnation of a boar, Lord Varaha. And at that time, Hiranyaksha, who was actually connected with the curse given by the Kumaras, Hiranyaksha had, he was a demon and had, Hiranya means gold, and he went after so much gold from the earth, mining and taking it, that they tipped the balance of the earth and the earth fell to the bottom of the Gabadaka Ocean. Whereas the Gabadaka Ocean, well, every universe has water covering half of it. Papa says we can't see it, but it's there. And so that particular planet, the one that we're in, well, to the bottom of the Black Ocean. And Lord Barahat, the Lord took an incarnation as a boar, and he went into it was white color, went into the bottom of the ocean and recovered the earth. That's part of the pastime. Again, it's long. I'm not doing the full pastimes. We will be here forever. I did that. The next incarnation, third incarnation, is Narada Muni. Devashi Narada, who's a great sage among the demigods. And he was carrying the Lord's name everywhere he went and inspiring people to be involved in devotional service. Sometimes he chastised, but even when he chastised those who were doing wrong, he did it in such a way that they would become more God-realized and stop the material, whatever things that they were dealing with that was negative. Narada Muni has so many very, very highly placed disciples. Fourth incarnation is Nara and Narayan, the twin sons of King Dharma. They also took so many, went through so many periods of time of meditation, and so many pastimes are involved with that too. The fifth incarnation is Lord Kapila, who preached the Sankhya philosophy. The philosophy of Sankhya is the description of the material and the spiritual in detail, so that the person that has good sense would choose the spiritual over the material. Lord Kapila is the one that talked to his mother, Devahuti. It's the fifth incarnation. Sixth incarnation. Remember, all of this, we haven't mentioned Krishna now. We get into a point about it. Sixth incarnation is Dattatreya, born of the sage Atri and his wife Anasuya. You also gave birth to Soma and what's that? I forget, but I'll get to it if I remember. Dattatreya is from
is one
Lord
of them.
Vishnu. Yes, from Lord Vishnu. That's Vishnu, Shiva, and
Brahma.
Brahma. Those three, approached. They came to him. They revealed themselves to Atri Muni and Asuya. When Asuya and Atri Muni did a lot of meditation and austerities, and then the couple requested that the three, Brahma, Shiva, and Brahma and Shiva and Vishnu incarnate as their sons. And that's how Dattatreya was born. So Dattatreya, particularly, since the others are not involved, you have to stay with Dattatreya. He's the sixth incarnation. So Dattatreya means Datta, the son of Atri. This is how the name came about, Dattatreya. Seventh incarnation is Yagya. And he came from Prajapati Ruchi and his wife Akuti. And there's a nice pastime about all of this. You can read that later on yourselves. Eighth incarnation is Rishabhadev. Maharaj Rishabhadev, incarnation of the Lord Krishna. Rishabhadev, he had 100 sons, and his first son was Bharat. And Bharat was the one that was, his name was given to India, Bharat. Ninth incarnation is King Prithu. So many things had happened to the earth at that time. So many demonic activities had gone on. And King Prithu was the ninth incarnation to come change the affairs of the earth and yield various products, again, milk, and there's so much. There was famine literally at the time. And the sages invited, there's a whole way they did it, for King Prithu to come. 10th incarnation is the fish incarnation, when there's complete inundation of the earth with water. And the Lord accepted the form of a fish, which is called Matsya. And he took the Vedas, and at that time, Vaivasvat Manu, which is the seventh Manu, he kept him on a boat and also gave the Vedas to him, so Vedas was preserved. Vedas didn't get drowned. 11th canto, Kurma, the tortoise, who was in the pastime of the Lord, where the demons and the demigods were to cooperate and take a hill, and which called Mandachara Hill. It's a sort of name for it also. But to churn the ocean. And churning rod was Vasuki, he's a snake. And he was used, a huge snake. We used it, and Vasuki agreed to be used like that for turning. But the demigods and the the demons could not do the churning properly because the mountain was too heavy for them. In fact, even bringing it, transporting it along was a problem. The Lord had to help them, and then later on, he took the incarnation or form of a tortoise and went under the mountain. So now they were using the demigods and the demons were just turning like that back and forth, and churning the ocean. First, there was poison that came up, but then later on, a lot of good things also came up, even connected with Mohini incarnation. That we'll get to later. 12th incarnation is Dhanvantari. Dhanvantari cured all kinds of diseases. In fact, it said that through him that the demigods were given long lives. It was through Dhanvantari. The health of demigods is from Dhanvantari. 13th incarnation is the one that I started and kind of stopped about the churning of the ocean. And Mohini Murti is the female incarnation from Lord Vishnu. So there was nectar that came from the churning, and the demons were going to take it and not give the demigods any. But then the Lord appeared as Mohini Murti, a very, very, very beautiful woman. And they all got lusty. These demons got lusty after him. So then they allowed her to decide what should happen. They said, oh, take the nectar and you, whatever you want to do. They were all attracted lustily to Mohini Murti. Mohini Murti gave the nectar to the demigods to drink. And the demons didn't get any. So 14th incarnation, that's quite popular. The Lord appeared as Sringadev, the half man, half lion, and he attacked Hiranyakashipu and killed him with his nails. This is a whole story behind it. We have even the Hiranyakashipu is the demon whose son was Prahlad, and he was trying to kill Prahlad because Prahlad would not hear the mundane type of education that was being given to him. But not only did he become, or that not only was he a devotee, but he also convinced his peers to take the devotional service. And when his father asked him what he had learned from school, he only talked about devotional service and talked about that the father himself should submit to Lord Vishnu. And that angered Hiranyakashipu, who was a demon. And he had tried to kill Prahlad in so many ways, but the Lord protected him. And finally, he appeared physically. Well, we are putting anyway, Lord's body is not physical, but he appeared actually as the half man, half lion because of some vows or of some boons that Hiranyakashipu had gotten from Lord Brahma, that he couldn't be killed by a human, he couldn't be killed by an animal, he couldn't be killed by anything that Lord Brahma had created, any being. He couldn't be killed at night, he couldn't be killed in the daytime, he could be so many conditions that Hiranyakashipu asked Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma granted it, and he thought he couldn't be killed. But you cannot deceive the Lord, and the Lord is the source of intelligence. So the Lord came in a form that Hiranyakashipu could not have figured out. The Shringa, half man, half lion. You can't call him an animal. You can't call him a man. You can't call him. So he killed him on his lap too, which is not on the earth or up in the sky either. The 15th incarnation is the dwarf Brahmana, Vaman. Vaman, who literally at that time, Bali Maharaj had conquered all of the demigods and taking their property. And Bali Maharaj was in control of the universe practically. And the demigods had lost their homes, they have lost their property, and they requested help. And so Lord Vishnu assumed the form of the dwarf Brahman, Vamana. So Vamana, born of Aditya and Kashyapa. There were 12 siblings, and he was the last one. And he came, he was very, 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 very good looking. And he asked for 3 steps of land from Bali. Bali says, I can give you more than that. And Vamana said, I only want 3 steps. So Bali Maharaj agreed, and then Vamana expanded himself. And from 2 steps, he covered the whole universe. And they asked Bali Maharaj, all right, I wanted 3 steps of land, where should I put the 3rd one? And Bali Maharaj says, put it on my head. So Bali Maharaj, in that sense, purchased the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Vamana. It's a very interesting pastime also. This is a short form of it. 16th incarnation is Bhigupati. He annihilated the administrative class 21 times because the administrative class rebelled against the intelligent class, the Brahmana class. So Srila Prabhupada explains in one of his lectures that the politicians, they really, in order for things to go well in the Vedic culture, they must obey the orders of the Brahmanas. So even though there is one king or monarchy, because the king will follow the instructions of the sages and the Brahmanas, then every king would rule over the country very nicely. So even now, if the president takes advice from highly placed sages and goes by that, this whole planet will turn into mode of goodness right away. What a big man does, others follow. But the problem is, it will mean that the Brahmana will have to ask the president to stop killing of cows. Slaughterhouses will have to be closed. Would they do that? The Prabhupada says that will be very difficult, because no president is ready for that. And even if he's ready, he can't do that because there's a constitution. Everything is constitutional. So the president's powers are limited in that way. Anyway, next incarnation, 17th, is Vyasadeva, who came through Satyavati and Parashar Muni. He divided the Vedas into several branches and he commented on them. And this was written out. And so he is the source of the Vedas, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 18th is Ram, King Ram, Lord Ram. So, and he's the one that killed the atheist King Ravana. 19th and 20th incarnations are Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna in the family of Vishnu, the Yadu dynasty. And of course, he was behind the whole Kurukshetra war, and so many kings were killed, many of them demonic, and so he removed the demonic burden that was on this particular planet. So there's more, but see, we mentioned Krishna's name as 19th and 20th incarnations, and that's what Bhagavatam is talking about. That is, even though the Lord is put in this incarnation, then the Bhagavatam turns around and says, but he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, though, even though he's put at the 20th spot. Ete cham sakala punsam Krishna stu bhagavan swayam indrari vyakulam lokam vidayanti yuge yuge. This is Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 28. So all of the above mentioned incarnations are plenary portions or portions of plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Just like now Guru Parampara that we know Srila Prabhupada, and then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, Das Babaji, it goes on. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jagannath Das Babaji, Vishwanath Chakrabarti, and it goes on. And at some point, you will see there's Lord Chaitanya. But there are those that came before Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya came a little over 500 years ago. Well, does that mean that he is the, whatever position is in the Guru Parampara? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Radha and Krishna combined. So that also shows that the Lord appears in his own will when he wants to and where he wants to, but he always relates with his devotees. And therefore, even in incarnations, and sometimes he comes as a plenary portion, sometimes he comes as an original, but he'll plug himself into the chain depending on what pastime he wants to perform. That's totally up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, some people will see Bhagavatam and say, well, Bhagavatam put him as the 20th incarnation, Supreme Personality of Godhead, so there's all of these. And some people, even his birth, they will say, oh, the 8th person that came, because the 8th one was supposed to kill Kamsa. Therefore, he's the 8th incarnation, and on and on. No, Bhagavatam says Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a question of his own will in the pastimes that he wants to perform, that he puts himself in different places. If you had control over everything, you would do as you like, when you like, and where you like. This is Krishna. This is Krishna. So the different incarnations are described, but the Shastra is without these defects that was mentioned earlier, the 4 principal defects. The defects of making mistakes. The self-realized souls don't make mistakes when they talk about Shastra. So Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what he wrote had no defects in it. And so even when he talked about the different incarnations and Krishna was put at the 20th incarnation, he still made sure he put it in the Bhagavatam that the portions are, and then the portions are there, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sum total of everything is Sri Krishna. Krishna Ete Kamsa Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. He is the personality, the topmost. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada came to have us connect with Krishna so much that even the Mahamantra first, which was being chanted as Hari Ram, Ram Ram, Hari Hari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hari Hari. Lord Chaitanya, who is Radha Krishna combined, showing everybody how to be a devotee, changed it. And so you say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hari Hari, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hari Hari. So the 4 defects, they are the cheating propensity, the mistakes, having imperfect senses, and being illusion. Those are the 4. Now, even the demigods are affected by it, even though they are highly placed in the material energy. So in one lecture, Sri Prabhupada was explaining about Indra. There was a situation between Indra and King Prithu. King Prithu, with one of the incarnations, was performing sacrifices, and he had to do it 100 times. And when he did 100 times, then he would naturally have a position, literally replacing Indra, King of Heaven. And Indra is very, very much attached to his position. So Maharaj Prithu performed 99 of the one, and at the 100th one, then Indra, being envious, interrupted. And the horse that was being used, he changed himself into a Brahmin, came and stole the horse. There was a whole pastime behind it. And Atimunis got involved in it to try to help to get the animal back. And Indra, of course, the sacrifice went, the yagya continued, but Indra still wanted to disrupt it. And again, he stole the horse. So it was like on and on and on and on until finally Indra got captured, and then he actually was forgiven in the end. So is Indra clean? The point, the reason we talk about it is that he also has those frailties or faults. But when it comes to the realized sages, like Srila Vyasadeva, talking about the things that are what is factual, they don't make any mistakes. We go through that because our senses are not perfect. We cannot see that very far. We can't see 5 miles away, 10 miles away. So we definitely can't hear that far. As my Guma sometimes gave an example that you can sometimes in one room divided by a wall, another room behind it, you may hear people speaking on the other side, but because of the wall, you can't see them. So your eyes are defective. Your eyes can only go but so far. They can't see through things, even though the ear is giving the indication that there is someone there. And even when it comes to the ear, the dog can hear very high frequency noises from a dog whistle, and the person cannot hear it. The eyes can see, but this particular planet is loaded with many living entities. Yet, what do our eyes tell us? Oh, we have a nice living room. It's very spacious. We have a chair here, and we have some tables here, and we have maybe some musical instrument. There's something, it's arranged nicely. The fact of the matter is that it is overcrowded. Why? Because there's a whole bunch of bacteria and germs in the air, but you can't see them. Because if your eyes could see those, you would be hard-pressed trying to get through things because it would be all over your face and all over every part of your body. But again, these senses are limited. They are imperfect. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnations, they are perfect in everything they do and the instructions that they give to us also. And if it's anyone tries to do anything to change what is factual in the scriptures, the Lord will descend himself and set things straight. Therefore, the scriptures are always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the subject was Krishna, and the predicate is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the sum total of all of these, and he is perfect with no defects like we have now, imperfect senses, cheating propensity, committing mistakes, and also being illusioned. So that means when we are performing devotional service and connecting in bhakti like that, we are very, very fortunate. What we talked about now, the majority of people, overwhelming majority of the population of this earth does not know about this. Sometimes we take it for granted, but we don't know how fortunate we are. Let's see, the Prabhupada has broken down the Shastra in such simple ways of the commentaries that he's given. So we know men have defects, but the Lord and the Lord's self-realized souls don't have defects when they describe what is in the Shastra. And the 20th incarnation, according to the Lord's own will, was Krishna, but he's not an incarnation per se. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, doing things as he wants to. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much for the class and especially covering so many verses, but I also really enjoyed the pastimes. The vignettes of each pastime was really, really sweet. Thank you so much. Would like to ask devotees, have any questions, any comments, any clarification, any food for thought? Please do feel free to raise your hand, or you can just unmute yourself and jump right in. Any questions, please do not feel shy. Yes, Nitya Gopal, go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Wonderful class. Yeah.
Krishna's
You nicely explained all the incarnations, Prabhu, of the Lord. So I was wondering, was there any particular reason, Prabhu, Sri Krishna appeared himself? Usually, other incarnations, he expanded or incarnated. But the 5,000 years incarnation in Vrindavan, was Krishna himself. He came down. Was there
Yes.
Was there any particular reason behind that too?
There is, this question has been asked several times. And the answer that I've heard has always been, the Lord does what he wants when he wants. That's the first thing. Second, sometimes there are requests that are made for the Lord to come. There were requests by Mother Bhumi when the demons were causing problems, so he came because of that. There were requests by Advaita Charya for the Lord to also come. He came as Lord Chaitanya. So sometimes it is a situation where a pure devotee of the Lord is requesting that the Lord appear for a particular reason, and then he comes. So that then the timing then would depend on when he got asked to do it. Yeah. So it's like a loving parent. They would be in their own position as parent, but sometimes the child would say, this gotta happen today, and my situation is like this. Therefore, then the parent arranges whatever he was going to do to satisfy, the child, so that the child's program also goes on well. So the Lord having a loving exchange with his devotees, with his pure devotees, when they request certain things, then the Lord will also adjust accordingly. Hare Krishna. And that's why sometimes it changes like that.
Very nice, very nice. I remember reading the description when Lord appeared to Devaki and Vasudeva. Before that, he appeared twice to Krishnigarbha, Sutapa, and I think Kashyap and Aditi.
Yes.
So that time he wasn't as an original personality, right? He came as Vamandev and Krishnigarbha. Is that correct, Prabhu?
Yes. Again, he decides. He decides how he comes. He decides how he comes. But you see, after saying all of this too, there are regular times that Krishna also appears, and regular times that Lord Chaitanya appears. Now, behind that is, it's connected with Krishna Prema, believe it or not. The levels of Krishna Prema. I don't know how much time we have, but sometimes, this is Govinda Maharaj that described part of it. So we know that at certain times, or once in the day of Lord Brahma, Krishna comes. It's even described exactly which Manu and all, I forget the names, but at that particular time, towards the end of Dwapara Yuga, beginning of Kali Yuga, Krishna will come as Krishna. Now, the pastimes that occur in that universe at the time can also be repeated, and is repeated in other universes. But this is all because Krishna himself wants the pastime repeated. He enjoys the pastime. So he involves himself in the pastime. Again, why does he enjoy? But his own free will. His own will. He's a supreme. He's a supreme. Therefore, he does things according to his will. So that's the basis of all of the answers to these kind of questions. Everything else is detailed, but he does things sometimes regularly and sometimes by request of his pure devotees. And because he can expand himself as he likes, so the incarnations sometimes appear in one particular planet, and in another time, and a different pastime is happening in another planet, and Krishna is there because he can expand himself into uncountable number of Prakash or Vilas. Prakash by himself, like that, looking like that, and Vilas, a different form, but it's still him that's coming. The Lord is incredible. That's all I can say.
Yeah, so nice. Wonderful, bro. Yeah. Thank you so much.
That was a nice question, Nitya Gopal Prabhu, because right? And yeah, that was a nice question. Thank you for asking, because that has crossed my mind too, a few times and I forget. But yeah, the Lord can do what he wants. He's the boss.
Yeah, what he wants, when he wants, for his own, and then he also hears what his devotees request, his pure devotees request for.
Yes,
and then the rest of us, go ahead.
Our job is to enjoy his pastimes. It comes Prakash or Vaibhav, any incarnation, just relish and glorify Him.
Yes.
Yes.
If we relish and we glorify Him, then we get our souls are connected in the right place. Then material energy doesn't bother us so much because our mentality and our thinking is all now transferred to the devotional aspect of things. And then He makes it even more on our side, wanting to serve Him because His pastimes are so wonderful. And it's very purifying too. In the end, you realize that material energy doesn't really have anything anywhere near the way the pastimes unfold. But that it comes from constant connection by chanting the holy names of the Lord and hearing the pastimes. Krishna purifies from within, and then the things that are material, whatever is going to happen in the future, people don't care too much about. Devotees won't care too much about it. If something comes and it's nice, all right, we can use it. So COVID-19 came and that was a problem, but there was Zoom, so we all switched to Zoom, and now we listen to Zoom, we get even more hearing from it.
The devotee took the best advantage of that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, people are complaining, but the devotees took advantage of it. That's the
Thank
Lord.
you for a nice question, Itukabha. That was really nice question. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Any other questions from devotees? Any other thoughts before we end the class? Any clarification? Any takeaway? It's always nice to have such wonderful discussion after a class. It helps us to think deeper and relish the discussion even more. So thank you. And if there isn't any questions, just a quick reminder that this evening we have our Bhagavad Gita circle reading that we are continuing chapter 16, amazing chapter. The chapter is entitled The Divine and the Demoniac Nature, and it will be explained and read and explained to us by Balabhadra Prabhu from ISKCON Atlanta. So please join us at 6 o'clock this evening. Until then, Vanchakapatibhyascha, Kripasindhabhevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Have a wonderful day, devotees. Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.